Caio Borralho has made it clear that he believes he holds a unique advantage over Khamzat Chimaev, although Caio is currently scheduled to face Nasruddin Imavov at UFC Paris on September 6th. He stated without hesitation that if the UFC offered him Chimaev instead, he would accept immediately. In a recent interview with MMA Junkie, Caio detailed why he feels so confident about the potential matchup. He explained that whenever Chimaev steps into the octagon, he does exactly what everyone expects. He overwhelms opponents with wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and relentless forward pressure. That's his trademark. Yet despite everyone knowing what's coming, fighters still struggle to find an effective answer for his style. According to Caio, the problem lies in how most teams prepare. Many assume the strategy is simple: bring in strong wrestlers, drill takedown defense, and work on stuffing his shots. But Caio insists that preparing for Chimaev is far more complex than that. It's not just about stopping he said, emphasizing that there's a deeper system behind Chimaev's dominance. He referenced UFC 319, when Chimaev dominated Dricus Du Plessis, but failed to secure a finish. Caio pointed out that while Chimaev executed his usual game plan, the lack of a finish drew criticism from casual fans, who often labeled dominant grappling performances as boring at the championship level. Still, Caio stressed that this did not diminish Chimaev's effectiveness or danger. He continues to view him as an exceptional athlete with elite strength, world-class wrestling, and the ability to apply suffocating pressure. Caio also acknowledged that scrambling with is nearly impossible. He's been scrambling since he was 9 years old. He's been doing it his whole life. I don't think scrambling is the way to beat him, he admitted. What sets Caio apart, however, is his personal experience training alongside Chimaev. He revealed that he once spent an entire month inside Chimaev's training camp at El's gym, studying his system, movements, setups, and habits. Because of that time, Caio believes he understands Chimaev better than anyone else in the division. I know exactly what he's doing. I know his system. I know the steps he goes through, and I know how to deny those steps. I respect him a lot. He's like a brother to me. But at the end of the day, this is competition. If it's me and him, I'm going in there to win. Caio even went a step further, saying that if the UFC called him right now and told him to skip Paris and instead fight Chimaev in Abu Dhabi this October, he would immediately accept. He argued that Imavov has already caused the promotion difficulties by declining to fight earlier during International Fight Week. And if the UFC decided to move him aside, Caio would gladly step in to face Chimaev directly. Absolutely certain. Khamzat has everyone talking. Love him or hate him, you simply cannot ignore him. Moving on to our next story. Daniel Cormier was genuinely surprised by Khamzat Chimaev's performance at UFC 319. As someone who has seen it all both as a fighter and a commentator, Cormier admitted he did not expect Khamzat to dominate Dricus Du Plessis the way he did. One of the biggest talking points heading into the fight was Khamzat's supposed lack of cardio. Many critics and analysts believed his aggressive style would not hold up over 5 full championship rounds. The idea was that if Du Plessis could drag the fight into the later rounds, he would eventually expose Khamzat's gas tank. But according to Cormier, that entire narrative was destroyed on fight night. Cormier pointed out that Khamzat delivered a flawless performance. He controlled Du Plessis for the full 25 minutes and walked away with the championship in dominant fashion. The scorecards read 52-44 across the board, leaving no doubt about who was the better fighter inside the octagon. What impressed Cormier most was not just the victory, but the way Khamzat repeatedly took Du Plessis down with ease and kept him pinned under relentless pressure. At the same time, Cormier gave credit to Du Plessis for his toughness. He noted that even when clearly behind on the scorecards, Du Plessis never mentally checked out of the fight. He continued to battle with the belief that he could still come back, and Cormier respected that resilience. Still, as the rounds went on, it became obvious that belief alone wasn't enough. Khamzat was simply too prepared, too driven, and in phenomenal shape. Cormier explained that many casual fans underestimate what it takes to execute a grappling-heavy game plan at this level. To the untrained eye, it may look like Khamzat was just riding out control positions. In reality, every grappling exchange requires tremendous energy. Constantly pressuring, adjusting, and neutralizing an opponent's escape attempts drains a fighter's gas tank faster than almost anything else. For Khamzat to sustain that pace for 25 minutes proved beyond a doubt that his conditioning is world-class. Cormier even went as far as to say this performance should silence all doubts about Khamzat's cardio. The idea that he could only fight in short, explosive bursts is gone. The notion that he would fade in the later rounds has been proven wrong. On the eyes of Daniel Cormier, Khamzat not only became the new champion that night, he also erased the biggest question mark of his career. He showed that he has the heart, the conditioning, and the relentless drive to dominate at the very highest level of the sport. Now let's shift gears to Tom Aspinall, who came forward to defend Khamzat Chimaev's performance after some fans labeled it as boring. Speaking shortly after UFC 319, Tom made it clear that in his eyes there was nothing boring about what Khamzat did inside the octagon. In fact, he described the fight as complete domination from start to finish. According to Tom, Khamzat didn't just win, he controlled every single aspect of the fight. He won every single round. It was a complete shutout. Tom said. He congratulated Khamzat on becoming the new middleweight champion while also giving credit to Dricus Du Plessis for showing up, pushing through, and giving his best effort. Tom emphasized that he wasn't taking anything away from Du Plessis, but on that night, Khamzat's skill set was simply on another level. At the same time, Tom admitted something many fans probably felt he was expecting: a little more excitement. When two fighters at the top of a division meet, the anticipation is always that it will be fireworks from the opening bell. But Tom made an important point. As someone who truly loves grappling, what he saw was far from boring. It was pure control, power, and supremacy. He also addressed the divide among fans when it comes to grappling heavy fights. Casual viewers might look at a fight like this and think it's just two fighters stalling or clinching against the cage. But Tom stressed that what Khamzat was doing required incredible strength, elite technique, and constant focus. He dictated the pace, decided exactly where the fight would go, and completely smothered any momentum Du Plessis tried to build. That wasn't stalling, it was shutting down an opponent in every possible way. Tom repeatedly emphasized that the fight was total control. In his words, it was one-way traffic for all 5 rounds. While Du Plessis managed to land a few shots in the final minute, Tom dismissed the idea that they changed anything. Those strikes carried little power because Du Plessis was already drained from Khamzat's relentless pressure. He simply had nothing left in the tank to capitalize on them. Tom's message to fans was simple. Yes, if you were hoping for a wild back-and-forth slugfest, you might have been disappointed. But if you truly appreciate the art of MMA, a chess match of grappling, positioning, and neutralizing an elite opponent, then what Khamzat delivered was masterful. He closed by making one final point. Fights like this separate the real students of the game from the casual observers. For Tom Aspinall, it was a brilliant performance. Exciting or not, the outcome was undeniable. Khamzat Chimaev dominated from start to finish. Israel Adesanya admitted that the fight didn't play out the way he originally thought it would. He expected Khamzat Chimaev to come out strong early, as he always does, but believed that by the championship rounds, Dricus Du Plessis would be able to drag him into deep water and make him pay for his reckless pace. However, that didn't happen at all. Instead, Izzy said he was genuinely surprised to see Khamzat improved his cardio to such a level that he could push through 5 full rounds without ever truly slowing down. He explained it perfectly. That's a mess to deal with. I thought Dricus might be able to stuff takedowns in round 4 because Khamzat would be tired. But instead, it was the other way around. Khamzat slowed down Dricus. He smothered him completely. For Adesanya, that was particularly impressive because he has been in the octagon with Dricus and knows firsthand how difficult it is to deal with his pace, size, and relentless forward pressure. He pointed out that when he fought Dricus, the tide turned against him in the later rounds, exactly where Khamzat ended up taking over. Izzy admitted this made the victory even more meaningful because it showed real growth in Khamzat's overall game. He noted that Chimaev didn't just come in with brute force, but with patience, a clear game plan, and the stamina to execute it for all 5 rounds. That's the kind of adjustment you want to see from a young champion. Izzy said he didn't make the same mistakes. Instead of fading, he grew stronger as the fight went on. He also gave Khamzat credit for flipping the script on Dricus. Normally, fighters expect Chimaev to burn himself out chasing but this time, it was Dricus who ended up exhausted, worn down, and unable to handle the pressure. Adesanya said that this shift in momentum proves Khamzat isn't just dangerous in the first 2 rounds, he's now a fighter with the endurance and composure to be a nightmare across the entire fight. He wrapped up his thoughts by giving full respect. New middleweight champion. The division's in good hands. For Adesanya, who has been the face of the middleweight division for years, this wasn't just a compliment, it was recognition that Khamzat Chimaev has truly arrived as the real deal. Dricus Du Plessis coach, Maury Visser, had a lot to say about the possibility of a rematch against Khamzat Chimaev. From the very start, Visser made it clear that they are not interested in jumping back into the cage with Khamzat right away. The loss was still fresh, and instead of rushing into another war, he explained that the smarter move is to return to the drawing board and address the very flaw that cost them the Fitch wrestling defense. Visser didn't hold back, saying, "I won't just take a fight because it's available. I want to fix this problem. I don't want to prepare for someone else like Rainey or Ditter or any other opponent. When we fight Khamzat again, I want to destroy him." Strong words, but Visser admitted it's easier said than done. He pointed out that everyone on the outside thinks they know the formula to beat Khamzat: stop the takedowns, keep the fight standing, and punish him on the feet. The reality, he said, is much more complicated. Khamzat isn't just a wrestler who shoots blindly. He mixes his striking and grappling in unpredictable ways, and on top of that, he's constantly improving. Visser explained. If you're behind on Russian-style wrestling, you're in trouble. It's not just about sprawling. It's about chain wrestling, pressure, and a constant pace. Khamzat has the ability to smother opponents and force mistakes. If you're not prepared, you drown in it. He also made it clear that they don't want to waste energy on short-notice fights or unnecessary matchups that don't bring them closer to the ultimate goal. Du Plessis has already proven himself as one of the toughest middleweights in the division, but when it comes to Khamzat, the gap is obvious and closing. It will take serious time and commitment. Visser emphasized that the plan is not to just hang around in the division. The focus is on sharpening every tool, especially defensive wrestling, until Du Plessis can meet Khamzat again on equal footing and turn the tables. He summed it up by saying, "No rematch right now, but soon. When we fix the gap, we'll be back. And when we come back, it won't just be to compete, it will be to dominate." That statement sent a strong message not only to Khamzat but to the entire middleweight division. Du Plessis and his team are not going anywhere. They're regrouping, adjusting, and preparing to come back with the mindset of erasing the loss in the most definitive way possible. Finally, Kamaru Usman weighed in on the fight, and the former welterweight champion had a lot to say about how things played out inside the octagon. Usman made it clear that, in his opinion, Dricus Du Plessis and his team did not respect Khamzat Chimaev's skill set enough. Going into the fight, they carried themselves as if one area of expertise wouldn't be enough to beat them. They believed they were too well-rounded, too durable, and too prepared to be dominated in a single discipline. But according to Usman, that was a critical mistake. He reminded everyone of something he has preached throughout his career. Wrestling is the most important skill in MMA. It doesn't matter how sharp your striking is or how many tools you have in your arsenal if you cannot stop a dominant wrestler from dictating where the fight takes place. You're in for a long night. Wrestling, as Usman explained, isn't just another weapon in the toolbox. It's the very foundation of mixed martial arts itself. And that reality was on full display on fight night. Usman pointed out that Du Plessis and his corner underestimated just how dominant Khamzat could be if everything went his way. He said Khamzat essentially crucified Dricus in 3 of the 5 rounds, leaving him with no answers. At times, it looked as though Du Plessis didn't even know how to get out of the positions. That type of control, in Usman's eyes, wasn't just physical dominance, it was also mental. Once Dricus realized he couldn't stop the take or escape the pressure, it turned into survival mode. Interestingly, Usman also highlighted something many casual fans might have missed. Khamzat actually made a few mistakes that could have cost him. There were moments where he left openings. That might have led to an earlier finish, but instead of panicking or rushing, he showed maturity and patience. He chose to conserve his gas tank rather than blowing it all in one wild flurry. That decision, Usman noted, showed growth in Khamzat's fight IQ. It's easy for a fighter to get carried away when they're dominating, Usman explained. They start punching themselves out looking for a highlight finish, but Khamzat stayed composed, thinking about the long game. In Usman's mind, that balance between aggression and composure is what separates great fighters from good ones. It's not just about having the ability to dominate, it's about knowing when to push and when to pull back, when to chase the finish, and when to secure the win. For Usman, the bottom line was simple. Dricus and his team paid the price for underestimating wrestling. They didn't prepare for how suffocating Khamzat could be once he established control. And by the time they realized it, it was already too late. So at the end of the day, whether fans label Khamzat as boring because of his grinding style, or unstoppable because of the dominance he showed, the reality is, the same. He is now the new middleweight champion of the world. And with contenders like Kyo Barajo calling him out, Israel Adesanya praising his improvements, Daniel Cormier acknowledging his cardio, Thomas Beal defending his style, Usman criticizing Dricus' preparation, and even Du Plessis' own coach promising revenge. One thing is, Israel Adesanya admitted that the fight didn't play out the way he originally thought it would. He expected Khamzat Chimaev to come out strong early, as he always does, but believed that by the championship rounds, Dricus Du Plessis would be able to drag him into deep water and make him pay for his reckless pace. However, that didn't happen at all. Instead, Izzy said he was genuinely surprised to see Khamzat improved his cardio to such a level that he could push through 5 full rounds without ever truly slowing down. He explained it perfectly. That's a mess to deal with. I thought Dricus might be able to stuff takedowns in round 4 because Khamzat would be tired. But instead, it was the other way around. Khamzat slowed down Dricus. He smothered him completely. For Adesanya, that was particularly impressive because he has been in the octagon with Dricus and knows firsthand how difficult it is to deal with his pace, size, and relentless forward pressure. He pointed out that when he fought Dricus, the tide turned against him in the later rounds, exactly where Khamzat ended up taking over. Izzy admitted this made the victory even more meaningful because it showed real growth in Khamzat's overall game. He noted that Chimaev didn't just come in with brute force, but with patience, a clear game plan, and the stamina to execute it for all 5 rounds. That's the kind of adjustment you want to see from a young champion. Izzy said he didn't make the same mistakes. Instead of fading, he grew stronger as the fight went on. He also gave Khamzat credit for flipping the script on Dricus. Normally, fighters expect Chimaev to burn himself out chasing take, but this time, it was Dricus who ended up exhausted, worn down, and unable to handle the pressure. Adesanya said that this shift in momentum proves Khamzat isn't just dangerous in the first 2 rounds. He's now a fighter with the endurance and composure to be a nightmare across the entire fight. He wrapped up his thoughts by giving full respect. New middleweight champion. The division's in good hands. For Adesanya, who has been the face of the middleweight division for years, this wasn't just a compliment, it was recognition that Khamzat Chimaev has truly arrived as the real deal.